Hey guys, this is Liam and Faisal here from Minute Genetics. We got a great video for you today because this week we're going to be talking about mutations. Now, when some of you think about mutations, you might think of this. If you're not a big superhero fan though, you might associate mutations with something else. When a lot of people think about mutations, they think of diseases like cancer, celiac disease, or cystic fibrosis. It's true that some mutations can cause disease, but it's not actually true that all mutations are harmful, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. First, let's take a look at what a mutation actually is.
When you're trying to understand mutations, you can basically think of them as mistakes in your DNA. Your DNA is the recipe book of your cells. It contains the information your cell needs to make all the different proteins and materials that it needs to thrive and grow. DNA is made up of little molecules called nucleotides, and a mutation occurs when one of those nucleotides is switched, deleted, or when nucleotides that aren't supposed to be there are added in. Mutations can occur if proteins that replicate DNA make a mistake, or sometimes things in the environment like UV radiation or free radicals can induce a change in your DNA.
Let's take a look at your DNA again. You've got a lot of it. In fact, you've got around 3.2 billion nucleotides making up your genetic recipe book. What you might not have known though is that we don't use most of it. Your DNA is organized into exons. These are the actual recipes that your cell uses to function properly. Then there are DNA sections called introns. Introns are large sequences of nucleotides that don't actually code for part of the cell. Amazingly, only about 3% of your DNA is made up of exons. The other 90% is non-coding DNA. That means that if a mutation occurs somewhere in that 90%, you'd never notice it. These harmless changes are called silent mutations. Silent mutations can occur within our coding genes. Your genetic recipes are made up of little groups called codons. These codons are like words that your cell can read to make useful proteins. Each word is made up of 3 nucleotides, or letters. Here's the thing, you can sometimes change a letter or two, but it will still have the same effect. Here's an example. One codon that our body uses is CCU. This is a codon that tells the cell to build a protein with the molecule proline. However, if you mutate the recipe to CCC, the cell still builds the protein with proline. This is an example of redundancy in our genetic code, and it means that sometimes mutations can occur without ever changing how our cells function.
So we've taken a look at mutations and we've started to realize that most of them won't actually change how our bodies work. What's really cool though is that just like how some rare mutations can cause disease, other uncommon mutations can actually help us out. We're not saying that mutations will let you shoot lasers out of your eyes, but here's one example of a beneficial mutation. Our ability to digest milk is a result of a mutation. About 7,000 years ago in our evolutionary past, there was a change in a person's DNA that helped them to digest lactose in adulthood. That trait was passed down in their DNA, and so the next time you go to eat milk and cookies, you can thank a mutation.